Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer, and today we have another very special guest with us, our Fire Marshal, Matt Minnetto. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be discussing just an overview of fire prevention and the Fire Prevention Division, and especially this particular week because it is
Fire Prevention Week.
Fire Prevention Week, a very important week all year round, I would imagine, but it is recognized this week. So, Matt, why don't you give us a brief overview, please, of your Fire Prevention Division? We can start there.
Okay. We have one fire marshal, myself, of course, and then we also have 3 full-time fire inspectors. They've been with us from a range of 28 years up to our 3rd full-timer just started a few months ago. We conduct fire inspections throughout the city, new construction. The fire inspections that we do that are annual ones, we have around 2,500 a year that we have to inspect. Plus we have all the new construction, and then we do fire investigations as well. So it keeps us pretty busy. We have a lot of annexing going on in new construction, so it's an endless supply of work to be done, which is what we want to see.
Sure. And so how long have you been the fire marshal? What's your history with the city of Sanford?
I've been with the city of Sanford since March of 2003, and I've been fire marshal for a little over a year and a half now.
All right. And so what is some of your roles as fire marshal encompass?
Well, a large part of it is the joy of meetings and keeping track of all the statistics and all the inspectors and their workloads and making sure it's delegated properly. But we've also transitioned from paper plans review to digital plans review recently, which is extremely helpful. It's a huge benefit to the customer with the speed and expediting of plans review. And it also helps us because a lot of plans have to be submitted with 3 to 6 sets per type, and I don't have to write those comments down over and over anymore. I can do it all through the computer, which speeds things along really quickly. Great.
So using technology and being innovative in our workflow. And so is there a name for that product?
It's called Citizen Serve.
Citizen Serve.
Yeah, it's our software program the city uses, and it's all the departments throughout the city use it.
Okay, yeah, we did have Daryl Presley on talking about Citizen Serve earlier in an episode on the podcast. So great, that's good to know more about it with the Fire Prevention Division. So as I said earlier, it is Fire Prevention Week. Is this a national designation or just in the city of Sanford?
It
Fire
is
Marshal?
A national designation.
Nationally, great. And so can you give us a little background about what Fire Prevention Week is, please? And that is from October 6th through October 12th.
Yeah, as you alluded to, perfect timing. It started yesterday. It runs through till October 12th. So we have a lot of schools and facilities contacting us, wanting us to come out to do public education events and teach about fire safety. But brief summary of how it all started. In 1922, the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, started sponsoring the Fire Prevention Week. In 1925, President Calvin Coolidge proclaimed Fire Prevention Week a national observance, making it the longest-running public health observance in our country.
That's an interesting fact.
Yeah, it was observed each year during the first week that encompassed October 9th in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire, which was a really terrible fire that started on October 8th in 1871 and caused terrible damage throughout the city of Chicago. Not to get too doom and gloom on you, but it did kill over 250 people, 100,000 were left homeless, and it destroyed more than 17,000 structures and 2,000 acres of land. So with fire prevention, when we have terrible events that occur like that, we feel an obligation to create codes and ordinances to protect people and businesses from this happening again. So why not take something that devastating and make it good and teach people year after year, and especially during this week.
Okay, that's wonderful. And so and this is another channel to get information out too, is the podcast, and we'd love for you listeners to please share this information as well and to acknowledge Fire Prevention Week, because there's some really great tips the Fire Marshal will be sharing with us later on in the podcast, correct?
Correct. All
right, and so public education is a very big piece of that, and so in addition to public education, you have information that they can find on the city website, correct?
Yes, it's really important. We have links on the website at sanfordfl.gov. If you go under the Fire Prevention tab, you can click on the Public Education Request link, which if you fill that out, will directly send it back to us for us to schedule with you. have the trucks come out. We can come out and talk fire safety. You know, some people love having the firefighters come out and dress up in gear and show the kids not to be afraid if they ever need us or see us, that we kind of sound like Darth Vader sometimes and wear all this gear,
right.
we're there to help them. There's also a link on there for smoke alarm request forms. Anyone who's in need of smoke alarms for their home, as long as they're a homeowner, we will come out and install them for them.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a renting type of situation, just have the landlord contact us and we'll try to help them as well. But we're really trying to push homeowners that need smoke alarms. We don't want anybody to go to sleep without fire protection.
And so fire prevention, a smoke alarm, because if you can catch it that early, correct? The smoke is the first sign of something devastating that could happen. I know that we had a person from the fire prevention team come to our home and install these smoke detectors when we first bought the house. And so is there a limit of how many a resident homeowner can get, and how would they contact you about doing that?
Yeah, it's that link on the website.
The link?
It automatically sends us the information once they fill it out.
Okay.
And we'll contact them to make sure. There's no real limit, but we just try to make sure they're code compliant. We want one in each bedroom, one outside in a common area, and although people like them in their kitchen, we don't recommend putting them in the kitchen.
Right.
Because
Goes off all the time.
We may or may not burn food at times, and you don't want to kill it. But maybe one in the living room, one outside the bedrooms, and then definitely in the bedrooms as well. If you want, I can kind of a little bit allude on the importance of that.
Sure.
Little statistics I have here. It says in a fire, mere seconds can mean the difference between safe escape and tragedy. Fire safety education isn't just for our school children. Teenagers, adults, and the elderly are also at risk in the fires, making it very important for every member of the community to take some time every October during Fire Prevention Week to make sure they understand how to stay safe in a fire. It's important to pass that information along, because if you smell smoking or your smoke alarm's going off, it really could be less than 2 minutes before you need to get out. Everyone's afraid of the fire, but the smoke is what gets to you the quickest. So as you've all probably heard before, stay low and go, get out and stay out. Those are all in place and preached in the schools and with us with fire safety, because we don't want people going back inside for items or pets, or be outside, be a resource for the fire department when we arrive, and then we'll go in and get whatever it is that we feel we can get it.
Right. And should they take this time to check their detectors in this week, or is there another recommendation too that you have, Fire Marshal?
Yeah, it's important. They usually say when fall back, spring forward with the clocks. That's becoming, I don't want to say less and less important. It's still important to check the batteries in there and to check to make sure your smoke alarm sounds. But the great news is all new smoke alarms that are being installed now have 10-year lithium-ion batteries in them. So if you have a newer alarm, you won't have to check it for battery, make sure the battery's good every 6 months, but you should still be testing them just to make sure that they sound. There's not dust all over the lens. They even recommend vacuuming it out or just making sure the area around them stays clean of dust and debris. But sure, you check it as often as you like. It's any issues, and we can also come out and check the batteries for you or test them if you can't reach them. We don't, like I said, we don't want anybody not knowing if their smoke alarm's working properly.
Yes, so please take the Fire Marshal's recommendation. Do go to that link. And what if there are some seniors that don't have accessibility to a computer? Is there another way that
they can? I'm sorry. They can always call my office phone. It's 407-688-5052. It's a direct line to me, and I'll make sure to get someone in contact with them to help them out.
All right. Can you repeat that number again?
407-688-5052.
All right. So getting back to Fire Prevention Week. Fire Marshal, I understand this year's campaign is Not Every Hero Wears a Cape. Plan and practice your escape. Can you share more information about that?
Yes, we teach people, like I said, to stay out of the home once they get out. An important part of that is before an incident was to occur, speak with people in your home and with your family. Know where you're going to meet. We call it have a meeting place. Make sure your meeting place is something that cannot be moved. You don't want it to be the sign over there in the yard and then the sign's gone and then you don't know where to meet anymore. So whether your meeting place is a neighbor's home, a large tree far from the structure, somewhere that's safe away from the fire where everyone can go to, because, you don't want someone running back in looking for somebody who was already out and they just were in a different location. They used to say kind of go by the mailbox, but that's great, but the mailbox is a little bit close to the street, and if there's smoke around your home, the trucks are coming through on the street. We'd rather you find a place that's safe but away from your home. Okay,
that's good advice, life-saving advice. And so escape planning, that's definitely important. Have a plan, as the Fire Marshal said. And is there anything else that you wanted to touch base on that? about keeping yourselves safe around planning?
Just rehearse it. Don't just talk about it. It's great to talk about it, but go over it. I mean, I've been in this field for a long time. I have children of my own, and I've blindfolded them and set their smoke alarm off while they're in their bed. We make it fun, but that way they have to keep their eyes closed, have to crawl low to get out. And if you practice that during the daytime or when there's not an emergency, you would hope they can use that for if there ever was an emergency as well. But yeah, it's important to go over it. Not even if you just do it 2 or 3 times a year, just to make sure everyone's on the same page as to how to get out and where to meet.
Okay, and so how do you talk about fire prevention, and we'll get into some holiday fire safety tips, but should you leave lights on in your house? Remember things plugged in. Does that matter, Fire Marshal?
It does. I mean, I'm real big on turning off appliances that you're not using, unplugging things that you don't need. A big problem that we find are couches pushed against walls where things are plugged in. A lot of people have lamps on either side of their couch, and then their couch is smashed back into the wall and it bends. They have electrical devices now that you can plug in and fold down, so that kind of stays out of the way a little bit more with the plug. But any cords that you see that are broken with frayed wiring, get rid of those.
Right.
If you have to buy a new appliance or have someone come out to repair that's certified to do so, you don't want broken wires. It's just
yeah. And what about curtains hanging over plugs or outlets? Is that okay? Curtains hanging in front of a outlet?
I'm not a big fan of loose fabrics really anywhere in a home. We've seen them in kitchens, or if you had a grease fire on the stove, which is a whole other topic.
Right.
But if you even just brought that pan over to the sink, it could catch those curtains on fire. So anywhere you have curtains, make sure they're not near an area of fire concerns. And so, plugs, candles, nightstands just keep a separation distance from the flame itself or the electrical cords from the fabrics.
All right. So there's something here that we have listed as be a hero. What can you explain what that means? Of course, being a hero to somebody could be different than your neighbor, but coming from a firefighter, fire marshal, be a hero. Well, explain to us what that means.
It just means kind of what I've said is the information that I'm giving you now. You could be of any age. I mean, you can go to a preschool or elementary school and you'll hear some of these kids talking about things that you go, oh yeah, I remember when we learned that, but then you kind of get away from it. So be a hero means speak up if you see something that's not right. In this field we're talking about fire safety, but it can be anything in life. But Don't be afraid at any age or whomever you are to speak up and say, hey, this doesn't look right, this doesn't feel right. You might want to fix that. Just we're all doing it to keep people safe.
And when you talk about fire prevention, and particularly this week, just overall, the City of Sanford Fire Department has a smoke trailer for training purposes?
We have a smoke trailer. It fills with fake smoke. The kids like to say it smells like burnt waffles in there when we light it off. Or not light it off, I'm sorry, when we use the fake smoke.
Right.
We used to bring it around. It's a little bit older now, so it's more where people, if they wanted to come to the trailer, we can show them the demonstration. But it's designed for age specific. You don't want to have a 4-year-old and a 14-year-old because we're going to fill the smoke up differently. We're going to pay attention to the ages of the children in there. So we like to use it more for schools, grade specific.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to contact me, feel free at the same phone number. It's considered a public education request link. Click on that. It'll get us the information and we'll contact you about it. But yes, it's a safe environment for them to practice. For sure.
All right. And so, again, we're sharing this information during Fire Prevention Week, but I would imagine this information is incredibly important throughout the year, every day of our lives. So the importance of fire prevention, want to review that?
Yeah, just about making sure that you talk to each other about fire safety scenarios and going over it and staying rehearsed with it, not just talking about it once or twice, but make sure everyone really understands that. Teenagers, adults, even the elderly, there's no right or wrong person who can speak up or who you should talk to about it. Just be an open resource for them. If you have the knowledge, pass it along.
Okay.
Like we said, if there's a fire, 1 to 2 minutes is the difference between getting out or not. And the smoke is what gets you quicker than the flames ever would.
Yep. And so we have information on the city website, sanfordfl.gov, and click the Fire Prevention tab labeled Public Education Requests. And our fire marshal and his team will be glad to educate you and come on out, answer questions about this very important topic. Now that we are in the month of October, there's a holiday at the end of this month. And on the 31st, do you want to speak to holiday safety and Halloween fire safety tips?
Yes, as I was saying earlier too, we don't want to just be on the negative side of things, but that's kind of our job to look for where emergencies can occur when we can avoid something at all costs. We want everyone to go out and have fun during Halloween for sure. But a few things just to remind everyone of if you're going to be out there, especially with young ones. Make sure that if you have, use battery-operated candles or glow sticks. You can use those in the pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns instead of candles. It just avoids that open flame type of a scenario. You have little ones with those costumes on, and if it's just a LED light or some type of an battery-operated candle, there's no heat to worry about. Like I said, when you're choosing costumes, stay away from the ones that have the long trailing fabrics on them, because that's where kids can get, trip, or if they're against the pumpkin, you don't want to deal with that kind of a scenario.
Right.
Teach the kids to stay away from the open flames, and you can see the difference. If there's a candle in there, really keep them away. Dried flour, corn stalks, crepe paper, they catch fire real easily, so keep the decorations as well away from the open flames and heat sources, even things like light bulbs and heaters. Typically in Florida on Halloween, we'd be lucky if we needed a heater at that point. But
let's
just
cross
in
our
case,
fingers that we don't. No.
At least where the kids aren't sweating through their costumes.
Yeah.
And always just remember to keep the exits clear of any decorations. You don't want to block those escape routes, and make sure your smoke alarms are working like we talked about earlier as well. Those are kind of some of the main bullet points we want to push out for Halloween safety.
And I know the fire department has a Facebook page. I'm sure there's resources on that. So please follow the Sanford Fire Department Facebook page and social media. And with a lot of candles look real when you use the battery operated candle. So to me that would be probably much safer, as you said. So is there any last minute items, Fire Marshal, that you'd like to reiterate with our listeners about Fire Prevention Week?
Just use the resources that we discussed and don't be afraid. Some people feel like they're bothering us. We are here for you. That's our job. That's our passion, to keep you safe. And my phone number is always a resource to call. Make sure if it's something I can help you with, or even if you don't know who to call me and I could forward you over to the person who I feel would be able to best answer your question.
All right.
Use those resources and call us if you need us. Okay.
Well, thank you, Fire Marshal Matt Minnetto. The brief overview of the Fire Prevention Division, thank you for that, and what Fire Prevention Week is, which is October 6th to the 12th that we are in the midst of right now. So please share this podcast with your friends, family, and even your young ones, your high school kids, and your children. Play this in the car on your way home from picking them up from school. It's all about educating the public about what the City of Sanford does in all of our services. Thank you so much, Fire Marshal Minnetto and your team of fire inspectors. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford. Subscribe today to this podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, and you could also listen to the podcast on the city website at sanfordfl.gov/podcast. Again, thanks for listening and have a wonderful day.